Hello, this is cjhoyle. Today is Saturday, April the 17th, 2021, and I'm just crossing the intersection of O'Connor at Coxwell Avenue. And in this video, I'm going to be giving a narrated tour of Coxwell Avenue here in the city of Toronto's East End. This area that I'm riding through to start here is known as the Old East York Village. And you can notice that there's a row of businesses here on either side, and they have diagonal car parking along the sides. That's something that you don't see an awful lot of in Toronto, but it's something that you'll see in small towns across Ontario. Lindsay, Ontario, and Tillsonburg, Ontario are two that come to mind that I've visited that have that. Over on the left, we're going past the East York Collegiate Institute, EYCI, which is a high school. And you'll hear that East York name coming up a fair bit in this video, and that's because this area here used to be part of the former borough of East York before the city of Toronto was amalgamated with all of its boroughs a little over 20 years ago. We're now about to cross Coxwell Avenue, which is an east-west street that has a painted bike lane on it. And here I continue in the south direction here along Coxwell, heading down, gradually downhill towards Lake Ontario. So Coxwell is a fairly major north-south street, and it looks like it has 2 lanes of traffic in either direction. Over here on the right, we're passing the East York Civic Center, which is a municipal building, which, as I understand it, was once, when East York was separate from Toronto, it was East York's own little city hall. But after they did that amalgamation, the city was now left with all of these little, no longer used city halls. I mean, like, it was a redundancy essentially. So they've repurposed them for various different parts of civic business. Over on the left now, we're passing by Michael Garron Hospital, which until about 5 or 6 years ago was known as East York General Hospital. And we just got a red light here at Salmon Avenue. So I was mentioning East York Civic Center. So that doesn't really function like its own city hall anymore, obviously, because the mayor of East York is now the mayor of Toronto, who has an office right downtown at Queen and Bay Street, at City Hall. But that particular East York Civic Center is now used for various different departments of the city, and one of them is the License and Standard Office. So if you ever have to go and get any kind of a permit or something from the city for a various activity or something, that's probably the place you'll have to go. For example, all the, taxi drivers and hot dog vendors and things like that, they'll all have to go there to renew their City of Toronto permits. So now that it's sort of mid-April, you can start to see the cherry blossoms and other blossoms on trees coming through, like that one we just passed there on the right. It's been estimated that probably next weekend will be when the cherry blossoms at High Park out in the west end of Toronto will be in their full bloom. Last year, because of the pandemic, they closed the entire High Park, not allowing anyone to go in there because cherry blossoms are known to draw large crowds of people. This year they're going to keep the park open, but they're going to fence off the area where the cherry blossoms are. So we're just about to cross Danforth Avenue here, and I'm just going to make sure I make this traffic light before it turns yellow. Danforth Avenue is a major east-west street that has the Bloor Danforth Line 2 subway which runs underneath of it, and Coxwell has its own subway station there. Danforth, as of last summer, received protected bike lanes as part of the city's pandemic active TO response. I made a couple of videos last fall showing those bike lanes. If you haven't already seen them, I'll provide a link in the description below. I also filmed a bike riding video earlier last year before the bike lanes were in. So I have a sort of before and after perspective of how the streetscape has changed. Just crossing Hanson Street here, and over on the right is the Monarch Park Collegiate Institute, or Monarch Park Collegiate, which is another high school, and it's also home to the Monarch Park Stadium, which is a sort of like a soccer or football field that has a lot of seating and it has a track around it. I believe it holds up to about 5,000 people. Back there we just went underneath of a bridge. That's for the Canadian National Railway, the CN Rail, which carries the GO trains, among other trains that go in the east-west direction. We're now coming down the hill here as we make our way down towards Lake Ontario. And this section of Coxwell here is kind of interesting. You can see that coming in from the left there, you can see the concrete down the middle is sort of curving into the middle of the street. That concrete is for the streetcar tracks. And the street that we're intersecting with here, if we were to turn left, it's called Gerrard Street East. It changes names though and becomes Fairford Avenue. And that's because Gerrard kind of jogs here. Gerrard's a major east-west street that has a streetcar line along it. But it's not continuous. When it gets to Coxwell, it curves and the streetcar line joins Coxwell, and Gerrard is temporarily interrupted. And then in a block or so, it picks up again. I'm just going to get into the middle lane here because I'm going to let this car get past first. We've got kind of a dooring zone situation there. But yeah, so just like I was going to say there, so right up ahead of this next traffic light, Gerrard Road starts up again, or Gerrard Street starts up again and continues in the west direction the rest of the way to Toronto, where it makes it all the way to University Avenue. So we'll just wait for this traffic light and then we'll continue our way heading south along Coxwell. And there's our green light. And you can see that the streetcar tracks continue in the south direction here. As far as I'm aware, this is not an actual streetcar route. This is just one of those, what they call non-revenue routes, which they just sort of use for moving the streetcar, the streetcars around from one line to another, or to get them to their sort of garage where they park them for overnight. So yeah, to be honest, I can't say I've ever ridden this section of Coxwell before. I've never ridden it from end to end like I'm doing today, but I decided that this would be another street that I could cover that I haven't yet made a video about yet. It's kind of a cloudy, gloomy day today. It's It's around 8 degrees Celsius when I left this morning, which is quite a contrast from last Saturday when I was out riding my bike making a video, and it was sunny and warm and I was wearing a t-shirt and shorts and felt like summer already. This is Dundas Street East that we're crossing, which has painted bike lanes on it in either direction. That's another street that I have not yet shown in a video. I've kind of been avoiding the ones that have bike lanes on them because with the pandemic and the stay-at-home order in place, the amount of traffic on the street is less than it normally would be. So I figure it's a great opportunity to come and film streets like this that I think, although it's not, I wouldn't call it bike friendly right now, I'm sure it would be a lot less bike friendly if it was, you know, if there was more vehicles driving on it. This next street here is called Queen Street. Queen Street East. I've made some videos on Queen Street West, but I have not yet shown the way that it extends over here to the East End. We're now about to cross Eastern Avenue, which is, if you were to go to the left along Eastern Avenue here, it would eventually curve and become Kingston Road, which runs, you know, way out to the east and eventually, well, gets to Kingston, or historically it would have. If you're to turn to the left here, Eastern Avenue, not kind of far from here, but eventually it splits into two roads and two separate one-ways, which are called Richmond and Adelaide, which pass through the downtown core. Over on the left, you can see some green space. That is Woodbine Park. And Woodbine Park is named after the Woodbine Raceway, or the Woodbine Racetrack, or whatever it used to be called, the exact wording, which was a horse racing course that they used to have here in the east end of Toronto, and that was what Woodbine Avenue was named after. Now Woodbine Racetrack is no longer there, and it's been converted into a park and a subdivision, and there's lots of other uses that have taken over that old space. But there is still a Woodbine horse racing course here near Toronto. It's actually up near the airport now. They moved. So up ahead we'll be reaching Lakeshore Boulevard, which is the end of Coxwell. Beyond this intersection, the road continues, but it becomes just a park road that goes to Woodbine Beach and the Asbridges Bay, which is that water that you can see over there on the right. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed joining me on this narrated tour. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.